Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to Let's Play Dot Hack GU Volume 2. Last time, the game wasn't long enough, so it added padding. We were supposed to check Moontree, but, yeah, the game wasn't long enough. So here we are, and I was telling about, my recent rewatch of Dot Hack Roots for the first time in like 10 years or so. I just got done basically saying I thought Roots was a good show, but tying into the games, I didn't think it really did a very good job on making me believe Haseo and Ovan and Shino were like one big, close-knit family that Haseo in the games wants us to believe. So you can go watch that one if you want more about that itself. It doesn't help too that like all of that was only like in half the show. Like I feel like if the whole show was maybe more about Haseo's time in the Twilight Brigade, then you know, that would have been more interesting. Because I mean, while I did like Dot Hack Roots, I will say the first half of the show is more interesting than the second. Just because there's other things going on too that the games don't have, like that organization Tan that I mentioned earlier. So, Tan is this... I'm not sure what Tan was. Tan was this ginormous guild that bought and sold stuff. I'm not really sure, to be completely honest, what Tan's overall objective was. It was ran by this really badass looking character called Naobi. He was like one of those larger beast characters, and he kind of like looked like... You really didn't get to see what he looked like because he had, like, I don't know what kind of, like, dress. He was pretty wrapped up in a lot of clothes. Like, he had a huge, like, deflated hat on his head. Some kind of headwear, anyway. I wouldn't exactly call it a hat, and he had, like, a scarf covering his face except for his eyes. But you could see he was, like, a lion or, like, a panther kind of character. And his eyes had, like, really cool, like, pupil dilations and stuff like that. He had some kind of fascination with Ovan, and then to an extent Haseo, because Ovan took an interest in Haseo, and everyone in the world took an interest in Haseo because of that, because like, I guess Ovan's just the talk of the town. He had this PKer named Ender that was kind of seemed like a palette swap of Bordeaux, tail Haseo, and kind of interact with the different members of the Twilight Brigade. And then they had this other guy called Tawalaya that was, I liked his voice a lot. It was very, I don't know, I wouldn't say comforting, it was just like one of those voices that I just enjoy listening to when he speaks. And he kind of like dealt with like the business side of the guild. Because I guess like I guess they were kind of like one giant guild shop, and Tawalaya was like the head of that, but Ender and Naobi were like the illegal side of it, where they like bought and sold information and stuff like that. And I don't know, it kind of confused me why they were so obsessed with Ovan, Naobi and Ender anyway. And I actually looked up on a wiki to see if I could find out more about that, and I guess the entire point of the guild was to get information on Ovan, or to like stage some kind of giant coup against Ovan. Because the whole thing with the Twilight Key, the Key of the Twilight, that they were looking for, they were basically the Twilight Brigade was basically gathering virus cores that will actually end up doing kind of similarly later on in this game, and going to the Kashibadra battlefield and putting them in like the stone tabs there, and that warped him to somewhere else that they thought was going to be the Key of the Twilight. But then Tan also has like this Secret Service? This kind of confused me. They had all of these, like, ninjas and shit to, like, attack players if they needed to, and they, like, ended up having this big battle with the Twilight Brigade. And, most of them stayed behind to fight while Ovan went ahead, but it was, like, a trap, because Naobi was waiting there, and I guess his whole point was to, like, capture Ovan, because... And this is where something that I thought they said in the games happens, but it's actually in the show. Naobi says Ovan's character data has a ridiculous amount of data in it, like as much as a single area. And he really wanted to know why. Why he wanted to know, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I do know, but it's kind of stupid, but I'll get to that in a second. So he captures Ovan, and he has Ovan in, like, this torture area? I don't know. It's, like, somewhere where Ovan's trapped, while Naobi and Ender are examining him from the Serpent of Lore, of all places. And they're, like, analyzing Ovan's left arm and shit like that. And the whole time it's, like, weird, because he's, like, stuck there for a while, and I'm like, this is where I wish the GU generation kind of made it a little more clear about, like, the relationship between the players and their characters, because it's like, okay, Ovan's character is trapped, so, like, real-life Ovan, step away from the computer. Why are you, like, hanging out, screaming in pain as your information is being analyzed? Like, I didn't really understand that too well at all. Anyway, so, yeah, Ovan's missing, apparently, and Sakisaka from the Twilight Brigade is like, he ditched us. He got the key of the Twilight and left. And tensions are building between the members of the Twilight Brigade. Shino's doesn't know what to do. Shino basically goes up to Tau Alaya and says, release Ovan, or else I'm gonna release information about all the illegal shit you've been doing to CC Corp. And Tau Alaya's like, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about, lady. And because Tau Alaya was kept in the dark of all this, because he was just being used as kind of like the face of Tan, while Naobi and Ender were doing their shit. So, in the end, Shino gives them CC Corp the information, and Tan's shut down and disbanded, and Tau Alaya has his character suspended, and so does Naobi and Ender. But Naobi's like, it doesn't matter, I've never been attached to this character anyway. So, like, they lose their characters, they come back as fucking Yada and Pi, of all people. Which would explain the Serpent of Lore thing. But now there's, like, a bigger question, because it's like, Ovan escapes, and then they don't have any more contact with him for the rest of the show. So it's like, why is Yada and Ovan, why are they, like, on good terms again in the games? After Yada, like, kidnapped him and tortured him? I don't know. I don't know. Pi has, like, no... Ender herself was kind of like Bordeaux, in which she was like, she really liked the PK. None of that's brought back with her character in Pi at all, so that's a little confusing. They don't do much at all, besides just hang out in the Serpent of Lore and watch Haseo, and are like, it seems he has the Factor. And it does appear that Haseo is capable of summoning the Factor, and other things about the Factor, and shit like that. But it's like, I don't know, that was kind of weird. Kun shows up at some point, and is recruited by Raven. They kind of teach him how to control his avatar, but not really on screen. You see Syllabus and Gaspard, and you see Kun having to say goodbye to them, because he can't play with them anymore, because he's dangerous now. But yeah, it's just kind of weird, because, like, I thought Tan was cool, like, a cool part of the show, because it's, like, it's something completely new that wasn't in GU, like, at all, but, like, once they're disbanded, and it just goes back to, like, Yada and Pi, and it's like, alright, but I've seen these guys do, like, the same thing in the games, and I didn't like them there, so I'd rather see, like, the new characters, you know? Even if they were the same people from the games. So, but what confuses me, though, Yada and Pi work for CC Corp, so, like, if part of their job was monitoring Ovan anyway, I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of confused why they were disbanded, because it's like, I don't know, to me it just kind of seems like the kind of thing that CC Corp would have known about anyway, unless they were, like, doing something else illegal, because I don't know, because, well, I'll talk about that later on once you find out who Yada is, but I guess you could basically say it might be reasonable in Yada's character that he deals with trading illegal information, but I digress. Ew, I can't believe I just said that. I hate when people say I digress. It's I don't know, it's such an unnatural phrase to me, and I just dirtied my tongue with it. Blech. I don't know, it was just kind of weird like that. But, other than that, the stuff after Shino got PK'd, you see Haseo lose it. You see him, like, really start to lose it. He probably displays a better emotional scene than he ever does in the games. And this time you at least have, like, a decent understanding of it. Because you never really find out much about Haseo at all in, like, his home life. And I feel like that would have been, like, a really good way to, like, help show why Haseo is as, you know, whiny and emotional as he is. Because when I was watching the show, he said at some point that he doesn't live with his parents anymore, but he's, like, still a teenager, so you can kind of, like, infer that he's got, like, some kind of troubled home life, maybe. Like, maybe he's, like, living with foster parents or something. But, that's kind of it that we all learn about. But, like, taking that, like, one scene into consideration, you can kind of, like, see, like, put together in your own head that, like, maybe, even though the relationship wasn't shown to be that great in either the show or the games, you could kind of see Haseo, like, wanting that father figure in Oban and, like a lover in the form of Shino. So it explains it I don't know. I feel like it does a better job at kind of showing where Haseo's coming from than the games. But I think it could have been done better either way. Like, I really wish they had more of the scenes like they did in Dot Hack Sign, where they showed, like, glimpses of the characters' real lives. But yeah, Haseo has some good, like, losing it moments. You see the Forest of Pain pop up out of nowhere, and Haseo goes through that to get more power, because he thinks that once he's strong enough to go up against Tri-Edge and beat him in battle, he can get the answers he's looking for. Tri-Edge is in the show, too, so that's cool. He doesn't do much, but it's fun when he shows up, I guess. Even though the music usually sucks when he shows up, but whatever. He meets Taihaku in the Forest of Pain, which becomes important later on, because Taihaku mentions the Forest of Pain to Haseo in the games, and you might be wondering what the hell is that. Taihaku is much more polite, and as a result gets a really strong weapon for at the end of the Forest of Pain, because he has to talk to some AI. And Haseo is a rude little shit, so he doesn't get a fun weapon, but he gets his fucking Terror of Death form and all the weapons it brings just, like, right away. So then he just goes around being the Terror of Death for a while until he fights Tri-Edge and loses his powers. I guess, like, the biggest fault of Roots as a show itself, and not necessarily, like... Well, no, I would say biggest fault relating to GU is that it replays like the beginning of Volume 1, but it has Haseo interacting with all these characters that never showed up in the game. And it's like, when would he have done that in the game? Like, even if he knew them and stuff like that. Like, there was no, like, downtime that you could, like, put, like, this happened in between, like, meeting Syllabus and Gaspard and stuff like that. Because, like, events kind of, like, led, like, right to each other. And it gets to the point where it's, like, it's evident now more than ever how different Haseo in the show and Haseo in the games are. And then there's also this stupid cheesy scene at the very end where Haseo's, like, looking away and, you know, it like, puts, it like, you know, not really, but just, like, visually, it puts his final form over his, like, Twin Blade form. And then Scathe is, like, silhouetted in front of him, and I don't know, it just... It doesn't end quite so strongly, but it's still a good show. I would recommend watching it if you're interested in Dot Hack GU, and you haven't seen it already, or if maybe you've played, you know, the first generation and watched Sign, but never did anything with GU. I would still recommend watching Roots. If you're a fan of Dot Hack Sign, I would recommend watching Roots. If you like the kind of shonen style that the games have, though, I'm not really sure how much you would like Roots, because like I said, there's not a lot of action in it. It is a very talky show. I don't mean to, like, demean the games, but it kind of presents its story in a more mature way. Because it doesn't have to, like, explain every little thing or repeat little thing to you. I mean, granted, there are some things in Roots that I wish, like, they did talk about more, like Haseo's home life, like I was saying before. But, I don't know. I think it's worth a show to watch. But if you're because I see a lot that when people are, like, asking online, like, I want to get into Dot Hack, where do I start? And everybody's always doing, like, the same, like, you know, anime fanboy thing I used to do. It's like, well, first you need to watch Dot Hack Sign, and then you need to play the games, and then you need to read the manga, Dot Hack Legend of the Twilight, and then you need to watch Dot Hack Roots, and then play the GU series. Yeah, whatever. Roots kind of puts some things into perspective a little bit better for GU, but not so much that I would say you had to watch Roots before playing GU. If anything, I would watch Roots after playing GU because it spoils some things for the game for you. Honestly, it's just I didn't really the one thing I really think it needed to do to help you understand the games better is, like, doing a better job at showing the relationship between Haseo and Ovan and Shino build up so we can understand why Haseo is such a fucking prick in the games. But it doesn't do that particularly well. It does it somewhat okay for Haseo and Shino, but, like, it could have been a lot better for everywhere. I don't know. So, like, in that regard, it kind of more seems like Dot Hack Roots, while it takes place during those 8 months, it's not necessarily to fill you in on what's going on in Haseo's life, because, like, that's another thing about Roots. It's not the Haseo show. Like, there's a lot of focus on that other girl in the group, Tabby. There's more focus on, like, Shino and Ovan by themselves. There's focus on Tan as an organization and all these other side characters that pop up later on. You know, it kind of becomes its own thing that just happens to be taking place during the time that, was skipped in the games. But I mean, I guess at the end of the day, the main character is still Haseo. People are talking about Haseo a lot. And, you know, its end goal was to show what happened to Haseo through that time, and it did do that, but, I mean, I'm just saying there's a lot more there than just Haseo, so I wouldn't necessarily say this was a must-watch before jumping into the games. But that's just me. Anyway, so we got this stupid data seed now. Can we, like, go attack Moontree and do plot? Hopefully. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening to me ramble on about Dot Hack Roots a little more. I'm sure I'll get back to it later on, once there are certain revelations with the characters in the games. But for now, I think I kind of got a lot of my points across. So, see you next time. Bye.